Welcome to downtown St. Louis and Busch Stadium, where it is a gorgeous night for baseball. The Cardinals playing host to the Cincinnati Reds, and tonight it's game one of a three-game set. All-important series for these two teams. The Cardinals, the leaders at this point in the Central Division, only by a game and a half. Ryan Freel in Cincinnati playing good baseball, just a game and a half back of the first place St. Louis Cardinals. A look at the division leaders in the National League. We start with St. Louis. They lead it over Cincinnati. Out east, the Mets are running away with it. In the west, a good race between the Dodgers and the Padres. Really, the entire division is still in it, and a bunch of teams still left in the wild card. Al Roboski, Dan McLaughlin, welcome to the broadcast booth here at Busch Stadium. No doubt about it, Al. Tony La Russa likes to downplay things a little bit, saying it's a pitch at a time, a game at a time. But tonight begins really the most important series to date so far.
Absolutely, because right now you got to find out if this team is for real. I mean, are they legitimate contenders? Do they have enough pitching? Do they have the timely hitting? Because they did not show it on the most recent road trip.
And the most recent road trip took us to Cincinnati, the first stop of a two-city tour, and the Cardinals split those two games, and one of the matchups was like tonight's matchup, Aaron Harang and Chris Carpenter.
Two of the best pitchers in the league. You thought it would be a pitching duel, and it wasn't one. Chris Carpenter really must redeem himself. He had a 4-0 lead. Then he led by a couple runs later on in that ball game. He got a no decision.
Well, it was a game in which the Cardinals very easily could have won. It was a desperation game for Cincinnati. Heartbreak for the Cardinals. They lost at the end on one swing of the bat. For Carpenter, as you mentioned, a 4-0 lead he had. 6-3, the Cardinals were on top late, and he couldn't hold those leads. It's a chance of redemption.
Yeah, he's has not defeated the Reds this year, and this is your best contending team up against the Cardinals, so he's got to go out there and show them that he is the reigning Cy Young Award winner. He is still the class to beat in the National League. He's pitched well against them, but he hasn't beaten them.
It's game one of a three-game set, St. Louis and Cincinnati. A couple of players in that lineup hit the Cardinals very well. Rich Aurelia and the future Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. More to come here on FSN. Have you with us? It's the Cardinals and the Reds. Game one of this all-important three-game set from Busch Stadium in downtown St. Louis. Jerry Narron has seen his club with a much-needed day off yesterday. They are first in home runs, sixth in runs batted in, and 10th overall in average. Freel, Hatteberg, and Griffey Jr. in the first, and Edwin Encarnacion, Dunn, Phillips, Clayton, LaRue, and Harang. A couple of home runs for the third baseman of the Cincinnati Reds. And they will face the Cardinals' best, their ace, and Chris Carpenter on the mound tonight. The first pitch is a strike to Ryan Freel. The numbers for Chris Carpenter on the season brought to you by Advance Auto Parts.
10-6. Third start against the Reds, 0-2, but a very good ERA of 2.77. Speaking of ERA, Chris has a 1.92 home ERA, which ranks number one in the National League and all the major leagues.
Freel pulls it foul. This has been a busy team. The Cincinnati Reds took 2 of 3 over the weekend against Philadelphia. 2 of those games going into extra innings. One of them 14 innings, in which they actually used 2 of their starters. Freel hits it out to left field, backing up Chris Duncan for the first out. Well-rested bullpen. Brad Thompson no longer with us. He has been sent down. Timo Perez brought up. Sosa, Hancock, Flores, Looper, Isringhausen, Wainwright, and Johnson. But Al, they send down Brad Thompson.
Send down Brad Thompson, where the team was carrying 13 relievers. And once again, those lefties out of the Cardinals' pen, very important.
It's 84 degrees, our game time temperature. Positioned perfectly. David Eckstein. Hatteberg retired for out number 2.
Nothing could be better for Chris Carpenter and the Cardinals. A real quick, efficient 1-2-3 first.
Around the horn brought to you by Auto Tire. Duncan, Edmonds, and Encarnacion in the outfield. Roland, Eckstein, Belliard, Pujols along the infield. Molina behind the plate. A 1.92 ERA this season at home for tonight's starter Chris Carpenter. And in steps the future Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. Average at 242, 23 home runs, and 64 driven in this season. The first pitch, a strike.
Cool night, so pitchers should be very thankful for the weather tonight.
Haven't seen this in a long time in St. Louis. A couple of months, it feels like we haven't had weather like this. Carpenter, a guy that sweats an awful lot out there. You can tell by the bill of his cap, sweat-stained cap that he wears. He's got the sweat going tonight, despite the fact it's only 84 degrees. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Junior.
A couple losses and a no decision in the last 3 starts for Chris. So he'd like to see a good performance tonight.
2-2.
On an inside on Junior. You don't want to get it out over the plate. 559 home runs on his resume.
The 2-2 is lifted out to center. Edmonds broke back. Now he comes on. He'll make the play. 1-2-3 inning for Carpenter. Cardinals coming up in their half of the first. Record of 62 and 55. Tony La Russa 7 games shy of tying Bucky Harris for 3rd on baseball's all-time games managed list. How about that? He's been going at it, seems like forever. Eckstein, Duncan, and Pujols. Edmonds, Roland, Encarnacion, Belliard, Molina, and Carpenter. New look on the bench for Tony La Russa as Timo Perez has been added, along with Miles Spezio, Bennett, and Sotaguchi. Aaron Harang on the mound for the Cincinnati Reds to face David Eckstein as we started off. And Harang, very good record at 12-7, ERA of 3.66. Fastball and a strike at the knees. Our Rico starter, Aaron Harang.
And not surprising, he's even better on the road, where he's 7-4 and a 2.40 ERA.
Hit down the right field line. Friel on the move and runs out of room. He'd run through a wall if he thought he could catch it.
But he didn't dive in there.
Me too.
About 8 rows back. Making sensational plays in Cincinnati, but he's that kind of player.
The fans here in St. Louis appreciate it, no matter what side you're on. Guy that plays the game the right way and plays it hard, and that certainly describes Ryan Friel. He's in right field tonight. And that's out of play. No balls, 2 strikes. No doubt about it. Al Eckstein has been in a funk.
He has, but I mean, what's a little surprising to me is he hit 320 on the road trip. It's just that he's not getting on base enough to score.
Popped up left side, Encarnacion in foul territory for out number 1. The defense tonight behind Harang. Won earlier at this ballpark in St. Louis. Dunn, Jr. and Friel in the outfield. Encarnacion, Clayton, Phillips, and Hatterberg along the infield. LaRue is behind the plate. And the defense, as always, brought to you by our friends at Auto Tire.
His 12 victories are a career high. He's second in the National League, or tied for second in strikeouts. Got 4 complete games, 2 shutouts. Those are lofty numbers for today's starters.
Right-hander on the mound. Chris Duncan gets the start in left. And more times than not, as he loses the bat on top of the dugout and into the stands, Chris Duncan is getting some starts against left-handed pitching as the confidence is growing on a daily basis for Chris Duncan to get some playing time.
A little more pine tar. As he's big and strong, it appeared that nobody got hurt, but boy, I'll tell you what, that just went right over the head of that little girl right in front of that. There she is. And those 2 of them right there, but obviously Chris, they're booing because somebody came, and they're going to exchange bats. People know that. Or they'll let him keep it.
Quite a souvenir. 2-1 pitch. 2-2. Home plate umpire tonight, Dan Iasonia. Lance Barksdale is at first. Dale Scott at second. The crew chief and Ron Copa, the St. Louis in over at third. 2-2 pitch on its way, and a swing and a miss by Duncan. 2 outs, and it brings in Albert. Albert Pujols very appreciative of all the support for his golf tournament for the Pujols Family Foundation, which was held out at the beautiful golf course, a couple of 18s at St. Albans. Man on the mound was actually out there. Aaron Harang, a number of the Cincinnati Reds made an appearance.
Yeah, Tony said, I'm glad Aaron was out there and not Chris Carpenter.
It was a hot afternoon. Many of his teammates in attendance, local celebrities, football and hockey, golf, NASCAR with Kenny Wallace. Ford Key matchup. Started out great against Cincinnati. Matter of fact, he had that 3 home run day on a Sunday afternoon here at Busch Stadium. The last 5, though, no home runs and hitting just .211. That's a look at your Ford Key matchup.
I got the remedy for that one.
Fire away.
Well, this was the 4th year that Albert's had his Celebrity Golf Classic, and following previous years, Pujols has batted a combined .545, 6 for 11, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, and 7 runs in games following his tournament.
A lot of fun yesterday.
That's how we counteract that.
You and I were out there. Matter of fact, here on FSN, we'll have an hour-long show. Bring that to you from St. Albans. Chance to see all the celebrities out there. You find out who can hit the ball a little bit, too. As Pujols hit to the 3rd, Encarnacion has got it. So both these starters have 1, 2, 3 first innings. Encarnacion will lead it off when we come back. Carpenter an easy 1, 2, 3 inning. Now he'll deal with the cleanup man, the 3rd baseman, Edwin Encarnacion, followed by Dunn and Phillips. No score here in St. Louis. The aces squaring off tonight, Carpenter and Harang. That pitch misses low and away.
Remember last time that Carpenter and Harang met up here at Busch Stadium? 1-0 Cincinnati.
Ground ball handled by Scott Rowland. Low throw over to Pujols for the first out. Cardinal Baseball on FSN Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light. Refreshingly smooth Bud Light, always worth it. By Auto Tire, the tire pros. For the lowest bottom line price, you ought to go to Auto Tire. By Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers. By Geico. And by Shell, made to move. Adam Dunn on the first pitch. It's it out of play.
That was a 1-0 Cincinnati win. And Adam Harang, who is not a particularly good hitting pitcher, got the only RBI.
I think I jinxed him.
Because you told everybody that.
I told everybody that he was hitting under 100. Not much of a chance against Carpenter.
Base it up the middle.
Base it up the middle, RBI. Cardinals lose 1-0. Whenever in doubt, Al, blame us. Two balls and a strike.
Really trying to paint that inside corner, not getting all the pitches called, but eventually, if you can consistently pitch back in there, you get that umpire conscious of it, and eventually he subconsciously will expand the zone a little bit.
2-2 on the man that's got 35 dingers this year, Adam Dunn. First time through with Cincinnati, we were wondering if this is going to be a home run hitter's ballpark, and Austin Kearns hit a long home run. Dunn did. But the guys that were hitting it a long way were guys that you expected to. Broken bat, the shift was on. Belliard will charge a long way to come into the infield and makes the play. I want to make sure that everyone understands we are in high definition tonight on channel 792 on Charter Communications in the St. Louis area and DirecTV channel 95. Crystal clear high definition.
So many times you look at a ball club and a magical season in which they go to postseason play, and the Reds have had a lot of those magical moments, or people like Brandon Phillips, who they pick up April the 7th, become a great contributor.
Phillips retired, 6 up, 6 down. Cardinals have Edmonds, Roland, and Encarnacion due up. There's no score. Are brought to you by Singular Wireless. Which upcoming series gives the Cardinals the most concern? This series, the Cubs at Wrigley, Astros at Busch, Astros at Minute Maid, or some other series that still remain on the schedule. 42957 to text your vote.
How about all of them?
I agree.
It starts right now.
Here we are in the middle of August, and it's a meaningful game. Tony La Russa would tell you that every game is meaningful, but the Cardinals last 2 years had basically wrapped up the division. They could coast into postseason play. Not the case this season. And it might be to their benefit if they can wind up getting into postseason play.
Yeah, if you can get there. But I think you and I were talking before, and you brought up a great point, because the Cardinals' floundering play, they have allowed everybody in the Central to believe that they can get back in it. No longer are the Cardinals invincible.
You go ahead and ask a guy like David Eckstein, even Scott Spezio with Anaheim. They were able to get into postseason play with the wild card and win a World Series championship. There's a strike low and away. Edmonds didn't like it. You know, I think that baseball's got to look at that and maybe penalize the wild card team some way, somehow. Maybe only give them one home game in that first round. Something, but there's got to be a reward for winning your division. You look at a team like Houston the last couple of years, they get in and they throw Clemens and Oswalt and Andy Pettit, and Backey got on fire. And if you go in on fire and you've got pitching, you're going to win. But there's got to be something, though, to penalize the teams that back in like a wild card team would. Bud Selig has been asked about that. He said he would at least address it this offseason as Edmonds pulls it foul.
From a travel standpoint, you could go, it would make it difficult, but probably the best way would be 2-2-1.
What about just giving that wild card team just one game?
What game you give them?
I'd give them game 1.
And then the rest of them?
Make it a 4-game series. So they have the chance to at least the home ballpark, they get the advantage in game 1, and after that it's the team that won the division.
Baseball rarely ever has one-game series. You know, they're only makeup type games, and so there's your reluctance.
And the first base runner of the night is Jim Edmonds. And here's Scott Rowland. We'll see Edmonds in this series with the right-handers on the mound for Cincinnati. Tomorrow night, Bronson Arroyo will hook up against Anthony Reyes, and the Cardinals have announced that Thursday Jeff Weaver will make that start. Normally you'd see Jeff Suppan.
And Mark Mulder will make another rehab start Wednesday or Thursday. I don't know if that necessarily has been decided yet, but
Mulder did not look very good in the last rehab start, depending on who you talk to. Some feel that he started out okay, and then mechanics were all messed up. Others say he just didn't look good from the get-go.
Bottom line is it's 4 innings.
Right.
So, I mean, what good's that? It's a bad start. I know he had a pitch count, but if you're trying to equate it to what he's going to do at the major league level, it's not good enough. So, get him better conditioned.
1 ball, 2 strikes.
Scott Rowland, good to see him back. He didn't play on Sunday. They're sitting out about a few days, handful of days with the upper back spasms.
Reaches for it, hits it to short. Clayton to second. That's all they're going to get. So they get the lead runner. The beautiful new Busch Stadium yearbook is available now, and it's one collectible you don't want to miss. 320 pages. This book has it all for only $20, and you can order it now at 345-9000. If you're out and about, visit any Borders, Walden Books, Shop and Save, or Deerberg store. They'll have it as well.
Adam Harang had a lot of the hitters going after his slider in Cincinnati, swinging wildly. It did some damage on the fastball.
Cardinals in that game jumped out to a 4-0 lead thanks to the grand slam by Edmonds. Then led it 6-3 and couldn't hold on. Cardinals have really struggled against left-handed pitching this season. 17-28 against lefties. Much better against right-handed pitching. 45-27. We'll be in Chicago over the weekend, then we head to New York. And the Mets get a scare last night. Pedro Martinez with a leg injury after the worst first inning he has ever had. They weren't really sure about the severity of the calf injury, but he was lifted very quickly in that game. You'd figure it'd be doubtful we see him next week. Fouled straight back by Encarnacion. 2 balls, 2 strikes with 1 out and a runner at first. Outfield is straight away for Juan Encarnacion. Count even. Belliard on deck. Broken bat, slowly hit. Clayton got him. Just got him.
Rice will make all the routine plays, but his defense is quite porous to begin with. Jam shot, breaks the bat, has to come in under control, collects himself, makes that little sidearm throw and just nips him at the bag.
I wonder if he was safe here.
Well, it's pretty close. That is an out call. I think he's still out.
Brings in Belliard with a runner at second base. It's been a struggle for Ronnie Belliard so far wearing that Cardinal uniform. Lifts it over the head of the second baseman out to right. Drops in for a base hit. And the runner will score, and the Cardinals lead it 1-0. Ronnie Belliard with an RBI.
His 4th RBI, scoring Scott Rowland with 2 outs. And just another little clunker. Didn't hit it solid enough. Friel lets it play the hop, and then it gets a bad hop, comes up on his chest. 2 outs. Scott Rowland's off and running with contact. You know, Belliard has not done hardly a thing, but if he can contribute and do what the Cardinals think he's capable of, you know, he could be very helpful.
There's Molina. He was out early today with extra BP.
1,000th hit of Belliard's career, and it gives the Cardinals the 1-0 lead.
Cardinals on June 18th led the division by 5.5 games. The next 11, they went 1-10. July 26th, the Cardinals led the division by 5.5 games. 17 games since. The Cardinals are 4-13, and the Reds within a game and a half. And a strikeout of Yadier Molina, second on the night for Aaron Harang. Belliard makes it 1-0. Baseball history is brought to you by Schnucks at Fenway Park. Red Sox hurler Babe Ruth defeats Walter Johnson and the Senators in 13 innings, 1-0. Back in 1916, and that's our Schnucks this date in baseball history. It's quite a matchup on Sunday night. Barry Bonds against Greg Maddux, 300 game winner with a 700 home run hitter on Sunday night.
Max was outstanding, wasn't he?
He sure was. Pitched 8 innings, and the Dodgers would win that game in extra innings. Dodgers currently lead the West by 2.5 games, and when we saw them, we thought there was no chance, number one, to get back in the division race, much less have a chance to get into postseason via the wild card, and now they are starting to run away with it. And they have won 16 of their past 17.
The way the Cardinals handled them, and at that time you had to think they were one of the worst teams in the National League.
That's right. They made the trade to get Lugo, they get Maddux, made a run for it, and it's paid off. Here's the 0-2 pitch to Royce Clayton. Chops it towards short. Eckstein has to hurry. Good play.
Carpenter got that. His pitch is working as he's really 5 groundouts of 7 outs in only 23 pitches. And Maddux, what was it, 68 pitches?
68
through his 8 innings?
In 8 innings. Here's LaRue. It's really been a struggle for their catcher, Jason LaRue. They carry 3. Hitting .181 on the season, 5 home runs, and 17 RBIs.
Hitless in his last 21 at-bats.
And Harang, who at times, see, I'm not going to jinx him, at times has been a great hitter in his career, is standing on deck. So you can't blame me, Al, if he gets a base hit. Mentioned that the Cardinals lead their division by 1.5 games. Out west, Dodgers by 2.5. The Mets by 14. So St. Louis currently with the smallest lead of any of the division leaders. And that includes the American League as well. Eckstein, another opportunity. 2 away. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Cardinals LLC and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals LLC. Swing and a miss by Harang. Mentioned that his battery mate tonight is Jason LaRue. He's struggling at the plate. You got to figure that Harang feels very comfortable with LaRue as his catcher.
Valentin, one of the 3 catchers you're talking about, is their #1 pinch hitter. And then David Ross, who we saw has awesome power, but in Pujols' golf tournament yesterday, he also had one closest to the pin. Missed a hole in one ball just ran right through the cup and ended up about 4 inches behind it. So he will get a few starts.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. Curveball that is lifted down the right field line. Pujols on the move, and he won't get there.
But LaRue also has the most tenure of any of the Reds players and has always been a very, very good defensive catcher. Like Bob Gibson used to made out the lineup. He told Red put Maxie in at short down Maxville, and he said I'll hit for him.
6 ground ball outs, a strikeout, and the first 9 have been set down by Chris Carpenter. McLaughlin here on FSN Midwest. What a start for Chris Carpenter tonight. 8 of 9 first pitch strikes for Chris Carpenter. 6 ground ball outs, and also a strikeout mixed in the first 9.
Dan, I don't think it's a surprise to us to see him pitch this effectively, but I think the true test will be to see it continue through the bullpen pitch effectively, and then to see the rest of the rotation follow suit. David's promised some there'll be a change, and it's not necessarily changes in personnel, but changes in attitude.
Saw 31 pitches already tonight for Carpenter, and 23 of those have been strikes. Carpenter, Eckstein, and Duncan for the Cardinals. They lead it 1-0 and an RBI by Belliard.
What kind of hitter is Carpenter, in your mind?
Well, he's 091. Here comes the base hit. Is that what you want me to do, Al?
That's what I want you to do.
I'll play along.
Because you know that harangue guy that's the in-between, he's got twice as many hits as Carp.
Ooh, and he takes one on the outside corner. By the way, we get an update on Pedro Martinez, and the Mets are trailing 11-2 in their game, and they say that Pedro is officially listed day to day at an MRI this afternoon.
So many people always want to look at a team and say, well, is it good enough to win the World Series? Who knows? You never know when injuries are going to happen, when a key pitcher will go down.
The thing about this Cardinals team is that I think a lot of us forget the start of Pujols, which was historic in some ways, and it carried this team. I mean, his start was able to take out some of the weaknesses, the glaring weaknesses that were showing up with this ball club. At one point, the 3-home-run game against Cincinnati, he was on pace to break Bond's record. He's on pace for 190 RBIs, and people were pitching to him.
He leads the major leagues with 19 game-winning RBIs, and at least 15, if not more, had to have been in that first half.
Sure. There's a called third strike. Number 3 on the night for Harang.
It's back.
And it's a first. The inaugural Cardinals campout in the new Busch Stadium, presented by Bass Pro Shops. A limited number of Cardinal fans will have the opportunity to spend the night on the field. That will be on September 8th. The cost is $175 for adults ages 16 and over, $75 for children ages 15 and under, and children age 3 and under are free. A portion of the proceeds benefit Camp Coca-Cola. If you'd like to find out more, 345-9000, or log on to the Cardinals website at stocardinals.com. And the tickets for the event, as Eckstein is hit, the tickets for the event go on sale tomorrow at 9 a.m. Cardinals have been no stranger to hitting opposing batters, and Tony La Russa will tell you probably more than half of those have been with off-speed pitches, but the numbers don't lie. They have hit a lot of batters this season.
And David Eckstein's been hit for now the 14th time this year.
And it brings in Duncan, who struck out his first time up. Chris Duncan has talked about the fact that he's been able to really just break in at a nice, easy pace in the major leagues, as Eckstein doesn't advance, by the fact that he hits in front of Albert Pujols. But he is seeing more off-speed pitches lately. We saw that in particular in the series last week against Cincinnati. And when he first came up, pitchers were challenging him with the fastball. Now they've changed their tune a little bit, but Duncan has made those adjustments. There's a fastball taken low and away. 2 balls, no strikes. The one thing that has stood out to me, Al, is that he's had a pretty good idea of the strike zone.
Good idea of the strike zone, not swinging at pitches and those off-speed pitches, like you said, that are just off the plate. Obviously, he's a fastball hitter, but as he develops, and that was the thing about putting him in front of Albert, but as he's shown some 10 home runs now and shown the ability to hit over 300, now all of a sudden, like you said, he's seen more strikes, but more breaking balls are mixed in.
The 2-1 pitch, now 3-1.
There's a pitch there that a lot of times might have been a little bit too high, but if you see a lot of pitches down or in the dirt, then you'll swing at that pitch over your head.
And with 1 out, you would probably figure they'd like to start the runner at 3-1, but if he strikes out,
you have a strikeout pitcher and a strikeout hitter.
Let's say he steals the base, then you've got first base open with Pujols coming up, and he's probably not going to see a pitch to hit. Here comes a 3-2. Eckstein is not running, and the pitch is hit out to left. Dunn is there. 2 outs. Chris Duncan 0 for 2, and here's Pujols, who grounded out to third his first time up. Hundreds of thousands of dollars raised yesterday at the Pujols Family Foundation Golf Tournament. So congratulations to Albert and his wife Dee Dee. They put on the event. Of course, a lot of people here in St. Louis, and really a lot of people across the country helping out with this event now.
Great corporate sponsors. The gentlemen that I played with were good friends of Albert's and are from a furniture manufacturer or furniture stores in South Florida. They were based out of Fort Lauderdale. Albert played with us the last 4 holes.
I was getting nervous watching him swing the golf club.
Well, actually,
I worry about his side.
Well, when he went to the tournament, he was not going to play at all. He got his elbow drained on Sunday night, and it swelled up on him. But as he didn't participate, went around and meet all the participants and thank everyone. And then as the day went on, it kind of subsided, and he played a little bit. And as I said, at the last 4 holes, and this game has improved over the last 4 years.
The 2-1 is hit out to right center field. Over to get it, Ken Griffey Jr. Eckstein on his way to third. A base hit for Albert Pujols. He's 1 for 2. Runners at the corners with 2 down for Edmonds. But Pujols saw nothing inside as they kept going away, and he went down and got this pitch, Al.
Little breaking ball, the slider down and away, and it's what makes him such a great hitter. The tremendous power, but he can also put the bat on the ball and get his base hits. Cardinals are going to try and run on Griffey anytime they can.
We talked about it a bunch last week in Cincinnati. He plays awfully deep.
Plays deep, and you know, anytime he has to go laterally, they will try and take the extra base. At one time, Eckstein might not have made that. It might have stopped, but there definitely would have been a throw.
Jimmy tied up on the first pitch. He walked and scored. Back in the second inning, the only walk in this ball game, and it comes around to score.
Harang last week in Cincinnati threw a lot more sliders. He knew he had a good one, but he threw a lot more and disguised it well as they were looking for fastballs.
A ball and a strike on Edmonds. That'll find the seats out of play. The Cardinals have drawn over $2.3 million already this season. And the team that has drawn the most, the Dodgers, approaching 2.9.
At least 10,000 so more seats at Dodger Stadium.
Cardinals at nearly 2.4. Mets also there. Houston near the Cardinals in that department as well.
How about Jim? In 96 career games against the Reds, he's got 31 home runs and 76 RBIs.
And a bunch of great catches. He strikes out. Aaron Harang with 2 strikeouts in the inning. 4 on the night. It's 1-0 St. Louis. Count of no balls and a strike on Ryan Friel. Welcome back to downtown St. Louis, where the Cardinals lead at 1-0. Friel, Hatteberg, and Ken Griffey Jr. for the Reds here in the top of the 4th. And Friel is hit by the pitch. So David Eckstein, the Cardinal leadoff man, was hit by a pitch, and now Friel is hit by a pitch. First base runner of the night for Cincinnati. We turn to the Aflac trivia question.
Aflac!
Who was the Cardinals, or what was the Cardinals' record last season on August 15th? The Aflac trivia question. Reds finished last season close to 30 games out behind St. Louis a year ago, and tonight they're just a game and a half back. Ryan Friel was my guest on the pregame show, and he has got scabs all over his arm. He was bandaged up. He had the ice packs going. Just another part of that long list of bruises, the body of Ryan Friel. Here's Hatteberg.
Hatteberg got a new contract from the Reds during the season, and from that point on, he just took off.
Now, you spent a number of years in the major leagues, and the Reds have had 32 new faces come through their locker room, their clubhouse. How tough is it, do you think, for Jerry Narron to make sure that he's got a cohesive unit and guys that get along with all the different personalities that come through?
Well, it's very difficult, but apparently done some pretty good research and scouting and come up with good character people. They've had several changes since we last saw them. That was just last week. Merker's through for the season now.
Might be done for his career.
Well, he is, because he's going to have reconstruction surgery on his elbow, and he said that this would be his last year. Third time he's on the disabled list this year only.
And a call, third strike. Number 2 on the night for Carpenter. Hatteberg 0 for 2.
A lot of times, if you watch Molina, and remember, he's thrown a lot of balls and got a lot of throw behinds. A lot of times he'll take a pitch away by making that movement, take a pitch away, but that ball came right back to the middle, and Molina's picked off more Reds than any other team.
I'll describe that pitch too for fans out there. Right-hander throwing that to the lefty, because it is deceiving to where a left-handed batter is thinking that's going to all of a sudden hit their knee.
You know, like that is what the pitch is, you know, a right-hander, and yet it cuts back to the middle of the plate, where what really makes it effective is, like, Carpenter has a true cutter. So a lot of times these hitters will see that pitch that comes running in on him, and they really can't distinguish between the pitch that goes to the middle of the plate or the one that comes in on them. So their natural movement is to get out of the way, and once they do that, they cannot pull the trigger, and it ends up in the middle of the plate.
And that's why we see the reaction so many times from left-handed batters. They think there's no chance that that's going to go back inside the zone, and it does.
See it so often when Maddox pitches. See, there's the cutter coming in. And, you know, we talked about the cutter an awful lot, but really Carpenter has a true cutter, where most of the guys are throwing more of a slider.
Runner is going, and the pitch is taken inside. Got it. Molina thought there was a 3 down after he catches Ryan Friel.
Now, Ryan Friel, 27 steals, and you can see how quickly Molina stood up, released the ball. He's thrown out better than 40% of base stealers this season. Carpenter also helps out. They've caught 5 out of 8. And, you know, once again, get your head in the game.
We saw it last week.
And that was only
Taguchi.
strike 1, so it wasn't strike 3 and throw him out.
2 balls and a strike.
Didn't want the cutter, fastball. Well, maybe it was a cutter.
They did not run against Molina at all last week in Cincinnati. And with Mike Matheny not playing for the remainder of the season, the Gold Glove is wide open. You got to figure that Molina's got a good shot. Out to right, hard hit, but caught. Midway through 4, and the Cardinals lead it by a run. Leaded by a run. Their half of the fourth. Roland, Encarnacion, and Ronnie Belliard, who has the only RBI in this game. Belliard driving in Scott Roland. 1-0 St. Louis. Cardinals start play tonight, second in batting average in the National League, 9th in home runs, 7th in RBIs.
Runs scored. Doesn't matter what your average is, it's what your runs score.
Yeah, 7th overall. Roland has been a bit tardy with a couple of swings. And this one is popped up. The outfield grass, Phillips. Friday only on FSN, Evander Holyfield returns to the ring as he begins his quest for a historic 5th heavyweight championship by taking on Jeremy Bates. The best damn heavyweight comeback presented by Honda Motorcycles. Friday live at 9:30 only on FSN Midwest. Jeremy Bates is the opponent for Evander Holyfield.
Last Friday night, saw some great young St. Louisans fighting here at the new Hilton.
Out to left. This could be extra bases for Encarnacion. 1-out double here in the bottom of the fourth.
Scorched out into left field up against the wall. Adam Dunn gets it back in. So
pretty casual out there in left, isn't
you know, hey, got 35 home runs. Leading the team in home runs, RBIs, runs scored.
Ball one to Belliard.
Just playing the Cardinals for first place in this series.
And we'll leave it at that. Belliard with a base hit to right. His first time up, little bloop hit. And an RBI. 1 ball, 1 strike. That hit was number 1,000 in his career.
Hopefully he can hit one back out to right field again.
Pitch in the dirt. Tony La Russa talks about that every series is the same in his book. But there's a little something extra going against Cincinnati, and then over the weekend Chicago is a big one, and then off to the Mets. We'll see New York, a team that the Cardinals could face in postseason play. These next few games, next 9, are very important. Belliard out to left field, and it's 2-0 St. Louis. Ronnie Belliard has driven in both, and that time the ball scooted past Adam Dunn and left. Encarnacion scoring easily, and it's 2-0 Cardinals.
Belliard had his second multi-hit game since joining the Cardinals with 2 games on Sunday. So now he's got back-to-back multi-hit games, and more importantly, he drove in 2 runs. And watch the left fielder out there. This ball was going to get by him anyway, but it just scooted along the grass, and Adam nearly fell down, left a couple huge divots out there.
Molina now with 1 out, a runner at second base.
Very surprising that a pitcher of harangue and replace your divots, which Adam did not do, but very surprising with Molina and then Carpenter coming up that he gave Belliard a pitch he could hurt him with.
Bill Finley is the head groundskeeper here at Busch Stadium with the stifling heat. New ballpark. You don't know how it's going to react, and the field is held up quite nicely this season.
Well, the biggest problem, and here in St. Louis, one of the toughest places to grow grass because of the heat, but the old stadium was 10 times more complicated because of no air circulation, particularly out in right field.
And also the shadows.
Yeah.
Late in the summer.
And here with it opened up, I'm sure they're having a lot less trouble growing the grass or keeping it green.
Molina struck out his first time up. Harang tonight has struck out 4. Cardinals lead it by 2 runs here in the 4th. Pitch that scoots away from LaRue, but not far enough to advance Belliard.
Team could get a little gun shy after losing 2 base runners in the first inning in Pittsburgh.
We're not talking about Pittsburgh, Al. That was ugly. Cardinals could not score runs.
You know what? If the Cardinals don't get to postseason, they're going to look back at that series. And if they do get to postseason, they may look back at that series and say, okay, here was rock bottom and nowhere to go but up.
Very well could look at it that way. I mean, Cincinnati over the weekend is going for broke, man. I mean, they're taking a look at every single game as a way to inch a little bit closer to the Cardinals, and Jerry Narron actually used a couple of starters in Friday night's game.
I thought it was two in relief, but reading the notes, their Cincinnati notes, they said they used 4 starters out of 4 of their 5 starters in that game. So 1 was a starter and 3 relievers.
Well, they played 34 innings. The average time of those games over the weekend was 3 hours and 50 minutes. 20 innings plus of relief, that bullpen.
Yeah, Aaron Harang.
They averaged 6 pitchers a game.
Yeah, Aaron Harang pitched a scoreless 13th on Friday night.
And Ramirez, who was roughed up in game 1 between the Cardinals and the Reds last week, was also used in relief in that series.
Chris Mihalik pitched 6 2/3 innings. He hadn't been in the big leagues. He got called up on Thursday. I mean, probably after the Friday night game, he gets called up. Hadn't been in the big leagues for a couple years.
2002.
And he ended up going 6 2/3 innings to save that bullpen in one game.
For Belliard, who's standing at second base, his 9th multi-RBI game this season. First as a Cardinal. 3rd time he's had a multi-hit game. Wearing the Cardinal uniform.
And back-to-back Sunday, and now this game here. 2 of the 3.
That's behind Molina, and somehow LaRue caught it.
And somehow there hadn't been a warning yet. Did a good job. Harang is a tremendous actor, but look at there. That's why Jason LaRue's out there is catching with hitless in his last 22 at bats. I mean, that's just a blind stab.
Coming into play tonight, Harang had only walked 46.
Oh, I mean, he's gone, 70 starts with 3 walks or less?
Had over 160 innings coming into play tonight, only 46 walks. You got to wonder, though, if he feels a little bit worn out after his inning on Friday, getting late into his season. This may drop as Phillips, though, makes a nice play. Very good play by Brandon Phillips. Cardinals leading 2-0 here in the bottom of the fourth, and Carpenter will dig in. We take a look at the Aflac trivia question. What was the Cardinals record last year on August 15th? Look at that, 74-44 and a 10-game lead in the Central.
And this year they're 62-55, 1.5 game lead.
Carpenter out to right center field. And Ryan Friel makes the catch, and we are through 4. St. Louis leads it 2-0. And the Russo now to visit with Barry Weinberg and Jim Edmonds.
Right shoulder and swinging at some of those high pitches.
Couple check swings, and he did not look comfortable.
Got an extra player with Timo Perez. You see Taguchi stretching out.
Such a big series, you hope that Edmonds can stay in there.
Apparently he's not.
It's been his right shoulder that has been bothering him for basically most of this season.
He's had the left one surgically repaired and going to have the right one done after the season. And Taguchi will replace him. That makes some people in Big Mac land really happy. There you go.
That's out Big Mac land.
Yeah.
So Taguchi, the new center fielder. They'll go check on Jim Edmonds. Encarnacion, Dunn, and Phillips against Chris Carpenter. Reds have had one base runner tonight. That was when Carpenter hit Friel. Leadoff man back in the fourth. He has faced the minimum. Friel will then be erased by Molina trying to steal second base. 2 balls and no strikes. Cardinals have struggled, and so has Carpenter in his last 3 starts. There's a line shot caught by Pujols.
He lost in the lights or what, but a very awkward catch by Pujols. He's got to be putting himself in consideration for the Gold Glove. Out away from him. Encarnacion's got a 10-game hitting streak. Pitch thrown, and then it's a rocket right at Albert.
Glares back at Encarnacion. And here is Dunn. There's the first base hit of the night for Cincinnati.
And right by where the second baseman normally plays.
Shift was on, and it goes right by Belliard.
Belliard had to make a tough play on a number. So you saw how deep he was playing. It looks good, but he had a long run to get a little number that was in the infield dirt. Looked like Albert was pointing to Dunn, like some area where he got blinded by that line drive.
Here's Phillips. He grounded out to second. 0 for 1 tonight. We're in the 5th, and the Cardinals lead it 2-0. First base hit allowed by Carpenter, and the second base runner tonight for the Reds.
First one is erased on caught stealing. Let's see if we can get a double play.
And that is going to be tap foul. We talk about Cincinnati only a game and a half out, but Houston, you got to watch out for the Astros with their pitching staff. They're 5.5 games out. They get rid of Preston Wilson, let him go, and he was second on the team in RBIs. A little surprised to see that. Two and one. You think of Albert Pujols, you think of a pretty big man, but look at the guy he's standing next to. Dunn is huge.
Yes, he is.
He does not look like a quarterback. But then again, I hear about Ben Roethlisberger is down from his normal playing weight of 250 pounds.
I remember going to a banquet. Steve Jones, works at Gray Eagle and was an outstanding ball carrier for the Big Red, especially in short downs. But and first time he saw Lee Smith, and saying, now that's a big guy.
His hands were huge. Here's Clayton. He lines a base hit into right. Dunn will stop at second base. It's first and second with 2 outs. Both hits for the Reds coming in this inning.
There, Dunn had to kind of hold up, and he's looking to see where Encarnacion gets it, but not in any great hurry to get to second, is he?
Not at all. Here's LaRue, a grounded to short first time up. And Carpenter has been pounding LaRue with breaking balls on the outside corner. Or even that little cutter that he throws.
Yeah, you're pulling off of pitches. You just can't catch a break. When you're 0 for 22, you think the whole world's against you. And remember, he's got the Aaron Harang, the pitcher, behind him, so you've got to guard against expanding the strike zone and getting yourself out.
1-1 pitch to LaRue. 2-1. Chris Carpenter approaching 60 pitches on the night. Three and 1. 37 strikes in the 56 pitches tonight for Carpenter.
Well, the report is from the clubhouse that Edmonds left with dizziness, so nothing related to the shoulder.
Reaching left side, Eckstein, force play. Had Belliard reaching on it. Top of the order coming up. David leads it off when we come back. 6-1 as he went 5 innings. Felt a little bit like Edmonds, I guess, tonight. A little nauseous. Lightheaded in that start and was pulled after 5 and only gave up 2 hits. He looked very good.
In that series, Carpenter and Marquis didn't get wins, but Weaver and Reyes did.
It's one of the reasons why the Cardinals, with the off day, were able to move up Weaver for the start Thursday against the Reds. Eckstein with a base hit up the middle. Second time he's been on base.
All right. There. Hit up the middle. I think that's the approach you really have to take. Keep that front shoulder in because of the slider that Harang possesses.
Harang 11 of 18 first pitch strikes. Now 11 of 19 after the ball to Chris Duncan.
He's got the 2 and 4 seam fastball. Slider stays down, the sinker stays down, and then they get a lot of people to chase the high fastball.
And Duncan drills this one out to deep right field. How about 4-0? Chris Duncan with a 2-run shot. His 11th. A smile from Dad. A 4-0 lead.
Remember, he had 3 home runs in Cincinnati. He played in 3 games, but he had his first multi-home run game. So another home run, his 11th on the season, got a breaking ball, and really no doubt about it when he hits it. Gets that nice majestic arc on it, and you know how strong he is.
He's been fun to watch. Here's Albert. Smokes one out to center. Griffey on the move. He won't get it. One hops off the wall. Albert Pujols in with a double. And he's 2 for 3, and this crowd comes alive.
I wonder how many people can hit this pitch. Look at the height he is, but he has the ability to get up on top of it and hit a line drive. Dave Duncan watching as his son Chris jumps on a pitch. Not going to show too much emotion, but he's human also.
11 home runs in limited time this season for Duncan.
Oh, I mean, he's
been fun to watch.
He's making a statement as, you know, he was 7 for 14 with 3 home runs in the 3 games of the 4-game Cincinnati set.
And Taguchi bunts it in the air, but good enough to get down. And the sacrifice is good. Remember, Taguchi filling in for Edmonds. And it's an RBI opportunity now for Scott Rowland. Rowland is 0 for 2. He's grounded into a fielder's choice, scored a run back in the second, and he's also popped out to the second baseman. We mentioned this before in the previous at-bats. The infield drawn in here with Scott Rowland just didn't seem to get real good looks and real good swings on the baseball.
Well, instead of throwing a sinker, a lot of times they'll throw that either the slider, you know, off the plate, but he's probably not seeing the ball because he'll swing wildly at that pitch off the plate. You'll see a sinker or two, and then he'll throw the 4-seamer up in the zone and get him to chase it. But here, a sacrifice fly would be nice too.
Duncan's home run measured at 382 feet. Sitting next to Chris Carpenter, who's been given a 4-run lead.
He's now hit 5 home runs and 8 RBIs in his last 9 starts for Duncan. And he led the offense on the last road trip.
1 ball, 1 strike on Scott Rowland. And the check swing did not go around.
Just almost slider, 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 and then you get those pitches down there. Of course, that is a pitch, and you keep it there. Harang's hoping it'll be a ground ball right at one of his fielders, but he might throw that 4-seam fastball and chase it up, trying to get the strikeout.
What's he want here on 2 balls and a strike?
Looked like the slider again. Ooh. Hanger, but it was just up above the zone to where he, you know, swung through it. Two. Slider again.
And the ball gets away. Here comes Albert Pujols, and it's a 5-run lead for the Cardinals.
He just tried to overthrow the slider and really cut it off, and then it hit right in front of the plate, took a wicked bounce, and Albert is going to always be aggressive and be ready to pounce and score. This is where I think in Cincinnati they were fooled a lot by the slider, but now back-to-back starts, Cardinals are a little more accustomed. There was the four-seamer trying to get him to swing through, but it was so bad it was ball four.
Inning started with a base hit by David Eckstein up the middle. Home run by Duncan. Double by Pujols. Sacrifice by Taguchi. Now a walk to Roland. And a visit on the mound with Harang.
That sacrifice by Taguchi broke the tie between Carpenter and Taguchi for the most sacks on the staff, on the team.
I was talking to a scout a couple weeks ago, and they felt that the most progress in the major leagues by any young player had been made by Chris Duncan. And the numbers don't lie. 4 games in May, he had 1 home run. June, 13 games, 2 home runs. July, 21 games, 3 home runs. In August, he has come alive. 5 home runs in 12 games that he has played in. And 11 home runs this season. He had 1 in the major leagues a year ago.
That was the last game played at Busch Stadium.
The last regular season home run at the old Busch.
That was the last one out from Don Marquis Gallery, and we just saw the newest print from Marquis Gallery. Full house.
Full house, and it's available over at the team store here at the ballpark, also at Union Station, the Marquez Gallery. Don does a great job. We appreciate everything he does and his love of baseball. Now, Chris Carpenter, in his last start, had a 4-run lead and then a 6-3 lead. And tonight it is 5-0.
It's the first game of that 4-game. It's the second game, wasn't it?
Believe
second
it was.
Game, yeah. But I mean, because the Cardinals went out that first day and just exploded.
There's a shot out to right. Friel trying to deke the runner.
Yep.
Makes the catch. You don't see that very often in the major leagues, do you?
Well, not by an outfielder.
One of the greatest games with the most dramatic finish in Super Bowl history. 3 feet is all that separated victory from defeat for both teams. Greatest show on turf. Relive the 1999 St. Louis Rams thrilling victory over Tennessee. In Focus tomorrow night at 6 here on FSM Midwest. So a little football at 6. 6:30 will come your way with the pregame show, and then 7 o'clock the play-by-play. The Cardinals and the Cincinnati Reds in Game 2. And if you haven't had a chance to catch that show In Focus, it is outstanding. Narrated by Dick Enberg. Highlights, interviews from many of the main components of that championship team. So tomorrow night it'll come your way at 6. Belliard's had a good night with a couple of RBIs.
It's now 6 for 15 off of this pitcher.
Ground ball right side, and Belliard has a 3-hit night.
Seven for 16, but Scott Rowland couldn't run straight because he had to hurdle over that ball, so he couldn't go from first to third on that ball to right field. Got a reliever up for the Reds, Coffey. His arm's about ready to fall off, isn't it?
He's been used an awful lot, but he, along with 3 or 4 others in that bullpen, piling up the appearances and the innings in the last couple of weeks. Pitch count at 97 for Harang, and he is due up first for the Reds in the 6th. Most pitches that Carpenter has thrown in an inning, 14. You can see where Harang has gone deep a bunch. No balls and a strike on Yadier Molina. 2 outs, 2 runners on. Yadier is 0 for 2. nice to be back home. It hasn't seemed like we've been home very much since the All-Star break, has it?
No, and we're not going to be home very long on this brief 3-game homestand. Third time a charm, or fourth time a charm in Chicago.
Let's hope. We talked about it during the Open. If the Cardinals do not get into postseason play, they can thank Cincinnati and they can thank Chicago for that, at least up to now. I mean, Cardinals can change that with the big series coming up this weekend, and certainly this series here. Here's the 0-2 pitch. Saw Chris Duncan earlier lose his bat into the seats, and I believe the fan kept it.
Right. Remember, the one usherette went to retrieve it, because a lot of times what they'll do is they'll replace it with another bat, and she was waved off, so he hit the home run with the new bat.
She did him a favor.
Possibly.
Off the end of the bat out to center. Griffey there. Cardinals plate 3 here in the bottom of the 5th. We head to the 6th. St. Louis leads it by 5 runs. The Duncan home run. The approval from Dad. Pujols would score after his double. 5-zip St. Louis. All glad you're with us here on FSN as the Cardinals lead it by the score of 5-0. Chris Duncan with a 2-run homer, is 11th on the year. Ronnie Belliard a couple of RBIs. And Albert Pujols scoring on a wild pitch. And that's going to be it for Harang, as Juan Castro is the pinch hitter here in the 6th, and the Cardinals have knocked out the Reds' #1 starter here in Game 1.
And you just don't know how important that'll be.
Well, how about getting into their bullpen here in the 6th?
That's the point. Boy, Albert's had to scoop a couple low throws from the left side of the infield, and another ground ball from Carpenter. But you're absolutely right. Even though they had the off day yesterday, Cardinals success. David kicks out a crow hop and then a sinker over to Albert, and a nice scoop.
8th ground ball out.
Real soft hands for Mr. Pujols, but you know, off day yesterday, but still it takes a toll, as that bullpen is used frequently. And usually once you get in it, you're going to see 2 or 3 more.
Belliard with that 3-hit night. Last time he did that a couple of months ago at Milwaukee. And he does have a 4-hit game this season. That was at Yankee Stadium.
And Franklin is now warming up, so should be the pitcher.
And a swing and a miss by Ryan Friel, and a strikeout. Number 3 on the night for Carpenter. Attention high school students and guidance counselors. Cardinals are hosting the 2nd annual Career Day Wednesday, September 13th. Houston in town. Prior to the game, a program featuring Cardinals executives and front office personnel. 345-9500 for more information. Fastball at the knees to Hatteberg. That's the pitch that he argued called third strike on his last time up. He was caught looking. They go right back to it. Efficient inning thus far for Chris Carpenter. Fastball low and away. 1 ball, 1 strike. Curveball, a beauty. Boy, Carpenter has been sharp tonight. Only 2 hits allowed.
You know, he really hasn't had that curveball to finish off a hitter. It's been more of a roller rather than the great 12-6 that fools a hitter like that one. Fastball in now.
And a ground ball. Pujols there. Easy inning for Carpenter. Midway through 6. And St. Louis leads it 5-0.
Good one here in St. Louis as the Cardinals lead the Reds 5-0. Today's hot pitch of the game is brought to you by Hardee's. Well, Chris Carpenter had a very efficient inning, and he gets a big strikeout, his third of the night, of Ryan Friel, who's 0 for 2 in the night. And the call to bullpen is brought to you by Mid-America Chevrolet dealers. Ryan Franklin come into this ball game. He was with Texas released and then picked up by the Reds. And second game that we've seen him since he's been with the Reds. He pitched in Cincinnati last time out. So Adam Moran goes the first 5 innings of this ball game. 8 hits, 5 earned runs, all of them earned. 2 walks, a hit batter, 4 strikeouts, a home run, and a wild pitch. Carpenter on the other side has been very efficient, as he's only allowed 2 hits. One other base runner was erased after he hit Ryan Friel in the 4th, and then Yachty threw him out attempting to steal. Carpenter 0 for 2 in the night. Not long ago, Dan, that Ryan Franklin was sitting at home in Oklahoma trying to get a phone call before the Reds general manager, Wayne Kripke, who's been very, very busy acquiring players this season.
And Franklin was very good. We saw him against the Cardinals, at least piling up some much-needed innings. Wayne Kripke has undoubtedly been the busiest man in baseball. Totally remaking this team.
Nice. Actually, 13 players are from their 25-man roster opening day are left with the team. 6 relievers since the trading deadline, or during the trading deadline. Got deep Griffey is with Carpenter up.
Count of 1 ball and 2 strikes. Check swing. Franklin was with Seattle. Violator of the substance abuse policy in baseball, steroids.
I was thinking Texas, Philadelphia this year.
And Franklin was a guy that was used for a while as a starter. And then no longer used. He was out of the game, trying to pick up with somebody. 2-2 pitch. Carpenter puts it in play, too short. Plate. Well, tomorrow, tune in as the Cardinals face the Reds right here on FSN Midwest. And the telecast will be presented in high definition. Razor sharp clarity of HD. Check with your local cable provider for more information and HD channel number. Catch the Cardinals in HD on FSN Midwest. Eckstein 1 for 2. He's been on base twice. He looks at a strike on the outside corner.
These two have to know each other from the American League. Another slider off the plate. Franklin is 33 years of age. There you see, David's never had much success against this 6'3", 190-pound right-hander.
One and 2 the count on David Eckstein. And Duncan waits on deck. Jam shot, hits it out of play and foul.
Sliders away, and then a fastball in under the hands.
Washington already wins over Atlanta 5-0. Took 2 hours and 1 minute. Estacio complete game, a 2-hitter.
Lemon's on the short side of a 5-2 deficit.
RBIs for the Cubs from Isturis and Cedeno. And a 3-run homer by Jones. Minnesota leads Cleveland. That's in the bottom of the 7th, 1-0. Detroit, top of the 9th, tied up 2-2 against Boston. Bonderman and Schilling hooked up in that game. Ground ball up the middle. Clayton has to rush it. Good play. We just got Eckstein by step.
9th different organization that Royce Clayton's played for.
Let's go back to the previous at bat for Duncan. As he launches his 11th home run. A 2-run shot, 25 driven in on the season for Chris Duncan. Baby in one arm, souvenir in the other arm. And Duncan 1 for 3 tonight. 2 outs, nobody on here in the 6th. Baltimore leads the Yankees 3-1. That's in the bottom of the 7th. Mussina made the start for New York. Here's a diving stop off the glove of Hatteberg, covering at first Franklin, and Duncan is aboard. And it brings in Albert Pujols with a chance to do some damage.
Good hustle right there. Nice play by Hatteberg, but couldn't smother it. Got under the glove, and Brandon Phillips is a real hustler. He'll get all over the field and tries to help out. Long run for him, but he made it close, and give Franklin some credit that he was at the bag where he should have been. Hit night for Duncan. Tommy Hume, he's the acting pitching coach, as the Reds are waiting for Vern Rule, their pitching coach, to recover from illness, and it's been a long one. Tommy, normally and for many years has been the bullpen coach, assumed the pitching coach roles all season long. Some reason, well, let's see where Duncan or Brandon Phillips is standing flat-footed. Look at, he's standing flat-footed. Now he reacts. I didn't realize, I just assumed that he was playing up the middle, which I don't know why you would do with but there's a little sign right there of, you know, the Reds maybe not quite in this game either, but he was standing flat-footed, wasn't even on his toes or ready to move and help out his first baseman. A ball hit to his right where he dove for it, and it got underneath the glove.
Pujols with a couple of hits tonight. Single, double, run scored. Albert is in his 6th season, 236 career home runs. And over that time, he has averaged 43 per season. And rather surprising, the fact that Albert Pujols only has 14 career multi-home run games. The last one against Cincinnati. Past Phillips into center field, and it's a 3-hit night for Albert Pujols.
I told you, after his tournament, he could finally relax and take off offensively. Been one of the best hitters, second statistically in the National League, as the highest average post All-Star break.
Surprises me, only 14 career multi-home run games.
Yeah, because you just, but I bet it, you know, how many of those multi-hit games?
Into the hundreds.
Yeah, to have the, you know, 330 career average, which he just added to.
And who could forget the last multi-home run game for Albert against Cincinnati? And he had 3 that afternoon.
Which I believe was Easter Sunday.
So Taguchi out to right center. Griffey on the move, and he'll make the catch. Cardinals strand 2. They have left 8 on tonight. Pujols a 3 at night. Belliard as well. And Carpenter rolling along. Brought to you by Singular Wireless. Which upcoming series gives the Cardinals the most concern? And the votes are in. The answer is D, against the Astros at Minute Maid. You cannot count out Houston just yet. August 15th of 2006, and the Astros, if they can't come back and the Cardinals win tonight, would be 6.5 games out. But for them, they have been in this spot before, fighting for their lives down the stretch as Griffey hits one up the middle, and that's a base hit to start the 7th. A couple of hard hit balls tonight for Ken Griffey Jr. He's got one of the prettiest swings in the business, as you'll see right here.
And he loves to have that ball in the middle of the plate or out away from him where he can drive it, get his arms extended, and that swing right there has produced 559 career home runs.
Number 500 at the old Busch Stadium on Father's Day. And so many times we hear from opposing ball players by coming into St. Louis, great baseball town, always a packed house. That's certainly the case this season, a new ballpark. But Griffey said if he couldn't do it in Cincinnati, he wanted to do it in St. Louis. No better way to do it than on Father's Day.
And with your father in attendance.
And he wears number 3 now. There's 3 children. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes on Encarnacion. Carpenter has been dominant tonight. That base hit to Griffey, just number 3 on the night. And he has struck out 3. He has hit a man. That was back in the 4th. First base hit allowed was in the 5th. There's a liner. Could be a double play. That's one. How about 2? Double play. First double play turned by the Cardinals tonight. Cardinal fans, if you travel, the best way to catch games on your computer. It's available at stlcardinals.com, mlb.tv at stlcardinals.com.
Quite agree with Belliar playing that deep on the outfield grass?
I don't think so. And I say that because of the one that you talked about earlier where he had to charge. What was just a routine chopper where he's playing. Had to charge and make the play on the dirt. That's a liner caught. They're going to say it's caught by Albert.
And he was trying to take it out. That'll be an argument.
Dunn does not agree. A broken bat. He's left standing at the plate. And it's time to stretch here in St. Louis. All Cardinals tonight. 5-0 dealer.
Well, let's see. When was Scott's last home run? You know what? It was last week off of Ryan Franklin.
You're giving Yolanda.
Yeah, I'm giving Yolanda hope.
Just a caring kind of guy, Al. Uplifting. We shall see as Rolen is 3 for 6 with that home run and a strikeout against this right-hander. The 1-1 on its way. I'm not sure I agree with our first base umpire on that liner off the bat of Dunn, and the Cardinals may have caught a break. That's Lance Barksdale, our first base umpire.
We liked the call for the sake of ending the inning, but did not appear that he was trying to take the ball out of the glove. He made a tough enough play just to get to it. A great play.
Out to left center field. Griffey on the move. He's not going to get it. Rolen is thinking 2 all the way. And it's a double for Scott Rolen. I wasn't watching. I wonder if Griffey, I was watching Scott Rolen double clutched to allow Rolen to easily get to the bag at second. This is our pitch-by-pitch feature brought to you by Chevrolet.
Fastball inside with the first one, and it kind of comes back there, gets a strike, then a slider down and away, and then a fastball that he tried to get in, but he doesn't. Any time that Griffey has to go left to right, he slipped right there, but anytime he goes left to right, they're going to take advantage on him, and try and take the extra base.
Some believe that the guy that's playing right tonight, Ryan Freel, should be in center, but you're talking about one of the all-century players in Ken Griffey Jr., the player of the decade in the 90s. How do you approach him and ask him to move from his customary spot in center? Has he earned that right to stay there? Juan pops it up behind home plate. LaRue over and runs out of room. And the toughest thing for a manager has to be going to a veteran like a Ken Griffey Jr., one like Jr. that's headed to the Hall of Fame, no doubt, and ask him to move to one of the corner spots.
Well, there's two things to do. You know, and Whitey Herzog told me the toughest thing about a manager's job is to manage a superstar at the end of their career. There's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Sometimes you can kind of go through, you know, a process of going around in circles and saying, would you be going through the coaches or do this or do that? Or his father works for the organization too. And other times you just flat out, you know, you got, for all intents and purposes, a rookie manager, a couple years under his belt. Just go out there and say, Junior, for the sake of the team, would you be willing to move?
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Tap foul. I was reading the other day where Ned Yost, Milwaukee manager, went to Jeff Jenkins and he called it the hardest decision so far of his managerial career to go to Jenkins and bench him. And they've got a couple of young players that they want to try out in right. And Jenkins is sitting. He makes a ton of money, but he was striking out a bunch, not getting on base. He said he learned patience from Bobby Cox, and his patience had run out with Jeff Jenkins. Another pitch up and in. Crowd of 42,761 tonight. That catches the attention of the hitter and Tony La Russa. They've gone up and in a couple of times, and Scott Rowland, and this one to Juan Encarnacion. You see Griffey slip out there in center. I think if you're a fan of the Reds, you get worried. With all the injuries that he has had, knee problems, his kneecap, hamstring, just don't want to see him get hurt. Unfortunately, we have not seen him at his best.
And that's a shame, because the player that was in Seattle for so many years and so great, you know, when he's been healthy, he's been a solid contributor over here, but he just hadn't been healthy enough. Numerous leg injuries, and they're all from playing the game extremely hard.
Well, you go back to last week, the Cardinals pounded Cincinnati in game 1. The Reds came back in game 2. Cardinals in this game lead it 5-0. A series that Cardinals very easily could have taken 3 of 4 if not for the blown save by Isringhausen. Heroics, David Ross with a mammoth home run in that game. Nobody out here in the Cardinals half of the 7th, and a 3-2 pitch on its way. Shallow right field. Ryan Freel is there. Talked about the little things in this ball game. Pitcher backing up third. Didn't see Phillips back up the first baseman on a base hit.
Wow, or how many times do you see pitchers where they should be standing at the back of the backstop or taking a relay throw out in front of the catcher?
Houston back on top after being down in their game 5-2. They lead it 6-5. Three-hit night for Belliard. They'll walk him. And they'll pitch to Molina, who is 0 for 3.
That's why I was surprised that Harang allowed Belliard to get a double in the 4th inning. The way that Molina is really struggling. You'll see more and more of this too.
Sports Ultimate Nightly Highlight Show is here. It's the FSN Final Score. Every great highlight, every unforgettable moment, every night on FSN. The only national show that gives you nothing but wall-to-wall highlights. The FSN Final Score tonight at 11:30 on FSN Midwest. A week ago, they tried to pack the house with half-price tickets, $1 hot dogs. No need to do that here in St. Louis. New stadium, sold-out crowds every single night. As Molina pulls it to Encarnacion. Out there, out at first, double play. After 7, the Cardinals lead it 5-0. Take a look at the game recap brought to you by Jack in the Box. 3-hit night for Ronnie Belliard, on base 4 times with an intentional pass as well. Molina shutting down Ryan Friel, that running game of Cincinnati. Chris Duncan with his 11th home run, 25 driven in on the season. That was a 2-run shot. And the other story tonight, many times last season, the year before, and again this season, Chris Carpenter on the mound for the Cardinals.
This is the game we expected from Chris.
And he's talked about how he has not pitched in a pennant race last couple of seasons. As we noted earlier, the Cardinals have had the division wrapped up by this time in the season, midway through August. Didn't have that chance in Toronto. Now he's getting his chance.
I think also he's talking about, you know, when it's not a runaway. You know, where it's just kind of where you had the division wrapped up in a tight pennant race. I thought it was an interesting comment. Now Brandon Phillips, he knew who was running on that double play off the bat of Molina, where he completely came off the bag, set himself. Instead of rushing the throw, just took his time to complete the throw to first, and then had Molina by plenty.
Carpenter has not had great success against the Reds in his career, a record of 2-3. He has hit a man, he has yet to walk a man. And a liner up the middle, and that's how we start the 8th. Brandon Phillips 1 for 3 tonight. Cardinals about hit Cincinnati 11-4. And here's Royce Clayton. They picked up their first base runner in the 4th. That was Friel hit by a pitch. Their first hit in this game was done back in the 5th. The Cardinals have turned a double play tonight. Carpenter on the mound is a good sinker. You think about the possibility of number 2 coming up. Good pitch.
Carpenter's had a real effective, slider, but fewer times his curveball is one that he's kind of evaded him. But at this time in the game, I think now it's starting to get more effective. Didn't want the curveball, he's going to throw the slider. So it's a little tighter, and it looks more like a fastball. You see the dot. So it was the curveball, the pitch before, then that was the slider off the plate. Didn't want the fastball in, didn't want the curveball. Looks for the slider.
Count even on Clayton. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Slider again.
And a swing and a miss. 4 strikeouts tonight for Carpenter.
Talk about, and I said he's got really more of a true cutter, but it's really an old-fashioned slider. And a lot of people tell you, as a hitter, you watch that pitch, it looks like fastball, but what a good hitter can recognize is they see a dot. And that is an indication of them that it's a slider. It's going to be just a little bit off the fastball, lacking velocity. It usually will have just a couple inches of movement, and it's predominantly going to go down and away. But it's just the little late cutting action, and you kind of, a good hitter watching the seams, they see a dot instead of just a rotation.
See a pinch hitter now, Todd Hollandsworth. They picked him up last week. Former Rookie of the Year, that long string of Dodgers that won the Rookie of the Year. That pitch misses just in. Eric Karros and Piazza, Nomo, Hollandsworth. Mondesi was in that group. Tap foul. Pitch count is very good tonight for Carpenter. He approaches 90, but not many strikeouts. He's got 4.
Well, you know, we were just raving about Maddox getting through 8 innings with 86. Carpenter could do it with his next pitch.
Hollandsworth can't believe that call, as it catches the outside corner. 1-2 is the count.
No, pinch hitting is a tough job. You got one shot, go out there, but you don't help yourself complaining about strike 2.
He strikes him out.
Now, if you're a pitcher, you sit there and go, why are you complaining about strike 2 when you just swung at a ball? And what you really did is you got yourself out because you were still thinking about strike 2.
And now you like to see the strikeouts, and that's 5 on the night. By keeping them low and not walking anybody, the pitch count remains low. I mean, Carpenter always talks about it. He loves to pitch to contact, and that's something that Roy Halladay taught him when he was in Toronto. He said, look, if you want to stay deep in the ball games, pitch to contact.
All young pitchers are infatuated with a strikeout. As you mature and get older, you find out it's a lot better to strike people out or get people out in the first pitch or 2. And hopefully you never get to 2 strikes. But if you get to 2 strikes, then you can go ahead and strike them out.
There's Valentin, their top pinch hitter.
How many home runs has he hit this year? Is it 3 pinch hit home runs?
3 or 4.
Yeah.
And Carpenter, another reason that he has had success tonight. First pitch strikes, 21 of 27.
Got 4 home runs now. Remember, he hit
one last week against the Cardinals.
Against the Cardinals. Leads the Reds pinch hitters and hits, at bats, home runs, and RBIs.
0-2 pitch.
Oh.
One of the best pitches of the night, and Carpenter doesn't get the call. Wow.
So it appeared.
This is that pitch we talked about. Left-handed batters give up on it.
Right down the middle.
And apparently so did the umpire. Here's a 1-2. Curveball misses.
His curveball hasn't been that 12-6, you know, just lock him out. It's just kind of been a roller at times, and yet he's had the very effective slider tonight. And that's something that's gotten away from him on a few recent starts. He didn't even want to go to it as much. Shook it off, slider. Left that one where he did not want to, but got away with it. Valentin has homered in each of his last 2 pinch hit appearances. Thursday against Wainwright and Friday against Flash Gordon. There's that fastball. Let's see if it's the one that tails back.
A broken bat. Belliard on one hop. Sends us to the bottom of the 8th. Cardinals lead it 5-0.
Stick around right after the game for the Busch Light Midwest Sports Report. You're going to hear Tony La Russa's live post-game comments. We'll have the star of the game, and Mike Claiborne of 590 The Fan will join me taking your calls at 1-888-RING-FOX. That's right after the game. Dan and Al will see you then.
All right, Pat, looking forward to it. Brian Shackelford. It's our call to the bullpen brought to you by your Mid-America Chevrolet dealers. 22nd appearance, ERA that's near 7. Last time I checked, that's not good. It's not what you want, Al, ERA near 7.
No, and he was another guy that has recently been recalled. He's been up and down a couple times. Carpenter's been very good here tonight, and he's going to bat for himself, an indication he's going to get a chance for the complete game shutout. Valentin, who made the last out, pinch hitter, will stay in, and he'll catch as a Hollinsworth pinch hit for LaRue, their catcher.
Houston leading in the top of the 8th, 6-5 over the Cubs. Roger Clemens goes 6 innings, and Houston picks up 4 runs in the bottom of the 6th. So majority of the time they don't score enough runs for him. Tonight they may bail him out, and he would have a chance to win the game if they hold on. And that has not been automatic this season with Brad Lidge. That rally of those 4 runs started with 2 outs and nobody on.
Shackelford spent his first 4 full seasons as a hitter, primarily an outfielder. Also played some first base. And then in the middle of the 02 season, they converted him to a pitcher.
Hit left side. Encarnacion for the first out.
From Oklahoma, and he majored in sociology at the University of Oklahoma. Eckstein's been on base a couple times. He was hit by a pitch and also a base hit and scored.
Carpenter, looking ahead to the 9th, will face the top of the order.
Big smile.
Here's David Eckstein on base a couple of times tonight. Hit by a pitch, singled and scored. Part of a 3-run fit for the Cardinals. That pitch not nearly as close as some of the others that have been truly up and in. Times you'll see Eckstein hang over the middle of the plate too. Here comes a 1-0 pitch.
There was a recent game where Scott Rowland happened to be up in the video room, and one of the Cardinal hitters really reacted to a ball up and in, came down on the bench, and everybody was yelling and screaming, and he sat there and said, "Hey guys, that ball was in the middle of the plate. It was up, but it was in the middle of the plate." It was a left-handed batter, and so the bench was screaming from the Cardinal dugout, and goes, "Hey, wasn't even close."
Next pitch to Eckstein. 3 balls and 1 strike with 1 out, nobody on. Eckstein has popped out to third, hit by a pitch, singled and scored, and grounded out to short. FSN tomorrow night at 6. A look at the Rams championship season. 6:30 our pregame show. 7 o'clock the play-by-play. That's ball 4. Nice round of applause for Chris Duncan.
I think the fans are getting as intrigued in Chris Duncan playing every day as coaching staff and you and I.
Well, he has shown last 2 or 3 weeks he can hit left-handed pitching.
Yeah, we talk about as a pitcher, you know, you got to hold that front shoulder in. Same thing as a hitter. If you're going to face that lefty, you just can't let the front shoulder fly open and bail out on pitches. Just kind of drive it back towards the pitcher's mound, and same approach you do with your bat.
Homered off Real Cormier last week against Cincinnati. Got a 2 home run game in the finale of that 4-game set. Pujols on deck, and the fans are saying, please, please, Chris Duncan, don't hit into a double play. Want to see Albert one more time.
Got 5 lefties in their bullpen right now.
This one may drop. Yep. Dunn on the move, and it drops, but foul. Eckstein hustling all the way.
Yeah, Cincinnati, they're carrying 8 relievers right now, trying to get them through this spell. They sent down Ramirez, one of their starters that faced us, so they could have an extra arm through this series, as they know it's a little worn out. But the way Jerry Narron uses that bullpen, you wonder if he'll have enough quality arms down the stretch.
Remember a couple of years ago with Jimmy Williams in Houston?
Sure.
The quickest hook in the game. Come August, that bullpen was done. Three and 2, the count on Duncan.
Albert Pujols playing his 890th career game. He has 317 career multi-hit games. 36% of his games are multi-hit. Only 14 multi-home runs, but there's a lot of extra hits.
The 3-2 is hard hit off the bat of Duncan. Eckstein will stop at second base. And Pujols could put an exclamation point on this, what we hope is a Cardinal victory tonight. 3 for 4, double, couple of singles, run scored. He's closing in on 100 driven in. And the average is up to 333. So when you talk about Triple Crown, he still has numbers that are in the top 5 or top 10 of those categories.
Since the All-Star break, he's hit 13 doubles. He only had 10 the first half.
Picked up a bunch over the weekend,
including 3 on Friday night.
3-hit night for Duncan. The Cardinals about hit the Reds 12-4. As we mentioned before, Duncan picking up those hits. It's righties and lefties.
Played every day in the minor leagues, so he faced a share of lefties, and he's getting better and better because they throw more strikes here.
Here comes a 1-0. And Pujols puts a little flare out to shallow center, backing up Phillips. 2 outs. Only blemish on this night for the Cardinals, the fact that Edmonds had to leave the game. Not with an injury, but dizziness. Taguchi is sacrificed tonight. He's also flied out to center.
Detroit wins over Boston 3-2, and the Yankees come from behind and beat Baltimore 6-3.
It puts the Red Sox 3 games out. Detroit with win number 78. Chicago has come alive again. They started play only 5.5 games out.
Minnesota wins again. Royals are leading the White Sox in the top of the 9th inning, 4-2. So The Sox will have a chance. And how many games have the Royals lost in the 9th inning?
If the Royals can hold on and win, they'll keep pace at 36.5 games out.
Mathematically, they're still alive.
That's right.
About 5 nails are in the coffin.
Tommy, our director tonight, our Bud Productions crew. Doug Stanton, Mike Helling, Brian McCann, Chris Muskoff up here in the booth. That is pulled in. Encarnacion throws on the run to high throw, and the play is made. That's a fantastic play by Encarnacion at third. Carpenter will try to finish it off when we come back. Nothing St. Louis, top of the 9th. And it's the top of the order. Friel, Hatteberg, and King Griffey Jr. That's going to help out. One pitch, one out. Cardinal Baseball on FSN Midwest has been brought to you by Budweiser. Visit Budweiser.com to see the Emmy-nominated Clydesdales ad. This is Budweiser, this is beer. By Chevrolet. See your Mid-America Chevy dealer today. Chevy and American Revolution. And by Advance Auto, we're ready in advance. 98 pitches tonight for Chris Carpenter. He's 2 outs away from a shutout.
One of the key things, too, with a Cardinal victory, no matter what happens in games 2 and 3, Cardinals will maintain first place after this series. But you would definitely win game 1, want to win game 2 and game 3, and go on a long winning streak.
Good curveball.
Still's got it in the tank, and he can smell this victory, and now it's off to finishing it off.
Carpenter, if you're wondering, has 21 complete games in his career. Won this season back on July 14th against the Dodgers. That was a 2-hitter. It was also a shutout. Had 4 shutouts last year, 7 complete games in 05, the Cy Young Award season. 2 down in the 9th. Strikeout number 6.
Got Hatteberg twice, the same pitch. Watch, see if he doesn't give up on it. You see it tail right over the plate. There's crowd. Those people were rightfully so becoming disenchanted with this team. All you need is a winning streak, and who better than Chris Carpenter to get it started.
Off day yesterday. Cardinals regroup, and they lead it 5-0 in this series. Game 1, and an out away from taking it.
93 miles an hour with that first delivery here to Griffey.
Shift is on for Junior. 2 balls, no strikes. Carpenter has not allowed a walk. He has hit a man. That was back in the 4th. The first hit allowed was in the 5th. 2-1. Ground ball back to Carpenter. What a way to finish it. Flips to Albert. The 22nd complete game of his career. The Cardinals win it 5-0. 5-12-0 for St. Louis. 0-4-0 for Cincinnati. Our play of the game is brought to you by Budweiser. Part of a 3-run 5th. Chris Duncan going deep. Duncan with his 11th home run. Our Bud play of the game. Back with more in a moment. Big night for Carpenter and the Cardinals. 5-0. Now 2.5 games out. Cardinals win it 5-0. Complete game shutout for Chris Carpenter. The 11th of his career. 3rd complete game for hitter in his career, and he was just outstanding.
Well, he was, and it happened at the perfect time. He had to make a statement for the ball club. Cincinnati thought they could take him, and Mr. Carpenter said, I got something to show you.
Cardinal Baseball, produced by Bud Productions, an exclusive presentation of FSN Midwest. Next Cardinals broadcast will be tomorrow. We'll come your way at 6:30 with the pregame show, 7 o'clock the play-by-play. Our final tonight from Busch Stadium, 5-0 St. Louis. Stay tuned. It's the Midwest Sports Report coming up.